Hello, dear ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our today's special webinar to address ongoing complications happening in Afghanistan since Taliban has taken over the Kabul. As the US and NATO forces withdraw from Afghanistan, the future of economic, political, and human rights of Afghanistan still remains uncertain. After Taliban taking power, there's a thousand of people starts to flee the country. They are worried that the country is going into the chaos, and Taliban could carry out their revenge attacks against those who worked with Americans or with government. As a result, it started the refugee cause crisis in the region as well. Moreover, the people of Afghanistan today have lived with conflict for more than 4 decades. Entire generations have known peace, and millions remain displaced. Renewed violence and instability have created unpredicted humanitarian crises. I would like to describe this situation as a situation of rehearsal of history. As like in 1980s, Soviet Union's withdrawal from Afghanistan and Taliban coming power again within 3 years. However, one thing didn't change. Civil Afghan nations suffer from the consequences again. Personally, I have been closely monitoring about ongoing situation in Afghanistan. That's why I prepared some questions regarding the situation, and would like to discuss with our honorable experts and participants. I would like to start with our discussion with our honorable guest, Mr. Zakaria Barakzai, ex-consul general of Afghanistan to Turkey. He is former diplomat, was senior policy advisor of anti-corruption office in Afghanistan, and one of the people who has broad knowledge of about ongoing situation. He has master's degree from Georgetown University in US and as well as Moscow State University in Russia. Currently doing PhD in Istanbul Altıtaş University and knowing 7 languages. It's a very great pleasure for us to welcome him, and it's a very great honor for us to be him to be in our webinar. And I would like to give the floor to you, Mr. Zakaria Barakzai, and looking forward to hear from you about geostrategic and geoeconomic position of Afghanistan and with brief history background. Floor is yours, Mr. Zakaria.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Many thanks, Elmir, for your kind invitation to this webinar, and my greetings to all experts as well as listeners and viewers. The thing is that Afghanistan is approximately around 5,000-year-old history. It was the center for many religions, Zoroastrianism, Buddhism. You know that the longest Buddha was in Afghanistan, which was built 2,500 years ago. And later on, we had many invasions of Afghanistan because of its unique geopolitical position. And I read a book by Robert Kaplan, which say the victim of geography. So the thing is that our unique situation and positioning in the region, in the heart of Asia, made a lot of invaders to invade Afghanistan, from Alexander the Great, Genghis Khan, in the past. After that, we had in 19th century, we had the Great Britain, which was defeated. And also in 20th century, we had the Soviets who are defeated. And now Americans are withdrawing from Afghanistan. Some argue they already defeated in Afghanistan. So the thing is that Afghanistan is a mountainous country with approximately 652 square kilometers of territory. It's a tough terrain for any invader to invade Afghanistan. At the same time, with resilient people. So the Genghis Khan grandson was killed in Bamiyan in Afghanistan. And Afghanistan gained its independence from Great Britain, the first Muslim country in the entire world. And the superpower Soviet Union was defeated in Afghanistan. And now even NATO generals, and also Germany interior minister is saying that we were defeated in Afghanistan. So this is the true story about Afghanistan and Afghanistan geopolitical position, because it's the crossroad of civilization. It's the old Silk Road was coming from Afghanistan, and the lapis lazuli route, which was restarted by previous government, actually is more ancient than the Silk Road, because the lapis lazuli route was our lapis, which is blue color stone in Afghanistan, was shipped to ancient Rome and Egypt 4,000 years ago. So because of this rich history, we were victims of our geography in the past, and particularly in the past few decades after a Soviet invasion, a bloody coup by communists in 28 August 1978. And after that, the bloody war started with many proxies in Afghanistan, and the bloodshed is continuing and taking life of innocent Afghans so far. And this is how the situation is evolving.
Thanks so much for brief information, Mr. Zakaria. That's why Afghanistan nickname is Graveyard for Empires. And I would like to move my second question about current situation. How do we assess the strategic implications of US withdrawal and its impact to Afghanistan, and what are the expectations for future of Afghanistan? Was it right decision made by US?
Many in the United States already criticizing the US policy in Afghanistan, saying that we entered Afghanistan to remove Taliban. After 20 years, money in blood, we are withdrawing, and Taliban are backing. So was it worth it? And the thing is that we had four presidents, four administration in the past 20 years, and every administration, they had their own priorities. And because of that, Afghan people were suffering for the past 20 years, despite the fact that we have great achievements. And the thing is that while in today's Afghanistan, the new generation of Afghans is a reality, because in 2001, they were born and now they are 20 years old. And the median age of Afghans is under 19 years old. So this is the youngest country in the world, which is a plus. At the same time, we have Taliban, which is a reality and de facto rulers of Afghanistan right now. And of course, they need national and international legitimacy to move forward and put the end to violence and bloodshed in Afghanistan. And there is a lot of hope. At the same time, there is a lot of complication to that. I cannot hear you.
Thanks for again, Mr. Zakaria. And in point of power transition currently is going on in Afghanistan, I have monitored one fact that in the last 40 years, it's the first time there is no any foreign armed groups in Afghanistan. Can it be meaning of new beginning of stability in Afghanistan? Or can we assess that is a stability, is peace with Taliban is possible?
It depends on many factors. The first is that we have positive signs that amnesty was declared by the Taliban leadership, and Amir Ismail Khan, a jihadi leader in Herat, when he surrendered to Taliban, he was respectfully treated by Taliban. And former president of Afghanistan, His Excellency Hamid Karzai, Dr. Abdullah Gulagh Sherzai, who served many times in 20 years in offices, they are in Kabul and they are treated well. So this is a positive sign. The other thing is that still we have de facto rule of Taliban in Afghanistan, but the jury still we lack national and international legitimacy. And every move right now is critical for Afghanistan. And frankly saying, as an Afghan, I don't want that China and United States, India and Pakistan, Saudi Arabia and Iran, and other countries will fight in Afghanistan for our resources. In the crossroad of Asia, in the heart of Asia, Afghans should be the owner of this land, and my prayers are for a peaceful, prosperous Afghanistan. And worth mentioning that humanitarian catastrophe may happen if the situation will not change, because our assets are frozen in the United States and banking system is collapsed and administration is not functioning. And because of that, if this situation would be prolonged, it will be a humanitarian catastrophe. We have 5 million internally displaced people in Afghanistan, and the poverty line in Afghanistan is 60 to 70% under poverty line because of strategic interest of others. But the suffering of Afghan kids, women, men, is not considered in big politics. It's shame.
Definitely, Mr. Zakaria, I totally agree with you. With the power of foreign powers and with latest ongoing developments about frozen Afghanistan bank accounts in US, it's total devastating news. And there's a great concerns of also that Afghanistan will be again battleground for terrorist actions. And what about economically? Has Afghanistan has the resources to be economically viable country?
Yes, absolutely. First, we are in the crossroad of Asia. We are in the heart of Asia. If you see the map of Afghanistan, it's like this. Here is China, here is Pakistan, here is Iran, and there is Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, and Tajikistan. So we are connecting Central Asia to East Asia to West Asia. So this position may make Afghanistan the hub for transit and trade. This is first. The second, we have trillions of dollars of untapped mineral resources. We have the second largest stockpiles of lithium, which is on your cell phone, on your laptop, and it's electric cars. Elon Musk may need this precious metal of 21st century. We are Saudi Arabia of lithium. The second thing is our human resources. In the past 20 years, we have millions of Afghans went to schools, universities. In our young generation, human capacity, we are the youngest country in the world. And after water resources, fresh water resources, in this environmentally catastrophic situation, when we see wildfires, flooding, and drought, we have 75 billion cubic meter of fresh water in Afghanistan, which is a tiny portion of that is used in Afghanistan. So we have all, but we need peace. That strategic thinkers in big powers should attention to suffering of Afghanistan people. Enough is enough.
Definitely, and probably coming months will be very busy for Afghan policymakers about these issues with Western countries, with neighbored countries, and point of negotiations. Moreover, what really concerns me is that there's a lack of solidarity for Afghan people from international community. There's a very few countries that currently are action in point of helping refugees, crisis, and humanitarian aid. And one of these countries is Pakistan, which is geopolitically is very essential country in the region, along with Afghanistan and sharing border with Afghanistan. And today in our webinar, we are very lucky to have guest Mr. Ahsan Hamid Durrani, policy analyst and social activist from Pakistan. And I would like to give floor Mr. Hassan with my question. What's the next for Pakistan and Afghanistan relations? Will there be any cooperation in region, and what are the expectations? Floor is your, Mr. Durrani. I think Mr. Durrani has technical issues in point of connection. We can't hear you, Mr. Durrani.
If I may, I can contribute to that.
Yes, it will be a very great pleasure. Mr.
So the
Durrani?
thing is that, as I told you, we should not be battleground for other countries' strategic interests, and we should not suffer. 40 years is more than enough. And we have millions of people killed and injured, and we are in bad humanitarian situation with catastrophe. At the same time, we're thankful for all countries who contributed to peaceful settlement in Afghanistan, including Turkey, brotherly country of Afghanistan, which is a role model in Islamic world in terms of accountability, transparency, and good governance. Pakistan by hosting a huge number of refugees. But the thing is, I want to recite one poem from Allama Iqbal Lahori, which says, I will recite it in Persian, and after that I will translate it into English. Allama Iqbal, when Afghanistan gained independence in 1919, said, آسیا یک پیکر آب و گل است، ملت افغان در این پیکر دل است، ز فساد و فساد آسیا، ز گشاد و گشاد آسیا. Allama Iqbal is saying, a Pakistani founder member, is that Asia is a mixture of mud and water. The heart of this structure is the nation of Afghanistan. And if Afghanistan is in bad shape, the entire Asia will be in bad shape. If Afghanistan will be prosperous, the entire Asia will be prosperous. So this is how I see this relation between the two countries. All these fences and other things doesn't make sense in 21st century, because as a student of international law and diplomacy, we know the relation between France and Germany. When we fought many wars in the past, in First War, Napoleon Bonaparte and Hitler, but finally they have united European Union. So we are living not in 19th and 20th century, we are in 21st century. So because of that, we hope our neighbors will understand the suffering of Afghan people and not think about their strategic interests, but think about prosperous, peaceful Afghanistan, which will be in peace within itself and also peace with neighbors, and it will be the whole neighboring countries and also the entire region in the world will benefit from that.
Mr. Zakaria, I loved the statements that you have mentioned. Definitely, with the union, with the coming forward together, there will be great achievements for the region. And I remembered one statement that if there's a one unfairness in one place, sooner or later it will come to you. So we have to work against unfairness in any part of the world. And in this point, I would like to ask again, what are the expectations of Afghani people from the neighboring countries and from the Western countries?
So Afghan people wants peace, most of all. This is the immediate need. This is the first thing. The second thing, they need humanitarian aid because, as I told you, 5 million displaced people and 500,000 in Kabul city. Third, they need to end proxy wars in Afghanistan between different powers in the region, in neighboring countries, and outside. And fourth, leave Afghanistan to Afghans.
Thank you so much, Zakaria. And I would like to connect again with Mr. Ahsan Durrani, if he's with us. Can you hear us, Mr. Ahsan? I think we, I think we're still facing technical issues with Mr. Hassan. Oh, that was because of technical problem. Mr. Hassan is not with us. I think he have left us, and we have just informed that he will try to get connect with us again in few minutes.
Hi, am I audible?
Yes, Mr. Hassan Durrani, it's very good pleasure to see you in our webinar.
So you can hear me now?
Yes, it's very clearly everything is all right.
That's a relief. All right.
We are very glad to see you.
Yeah. So
I would like to give the floor to you, and with my first question about current ongoing situations. What is the next for Pakistan-Afghanistan relations in the region? Will there be any cooperations for the development? Floor is yours, Mr. Hassan. I think there's again technical issues. We have lost connection with Mr. Hassan. And so I would like to move forward and to hear from observations from our global peace chain ambassadors. And here we have another global peace chain ambassador from Afghanistan, Mrs. Hila Hakimi. Mrs. Hila Hakimi, are you with us? Mrs. Hila, we can't hear you currently. Mrs. Hila, we can't hear you. So I think we have again technical issues about connection to our webinar. So we have another honorable ambassador from Sudan, Mrs. Shazli Abdullah. I would like to give the floor to you, Mr. Shazli, and would like to hear from you about current ongoing situation and your observations in Afghanistan. How would you assess the situation, and what is your future? Floor is yours. Mr. Shazli, you haven't connected.
Elmir, am I audible to you?
Yes, Mr. Hassan Durrani. Yes, we can hear you now clearly.
I've joined from my mobile phone. I think it was not working on the laptop. So am I clear now?
Yes, everything is clear, Mr. Durrani.
Okay, perfect.
We're glad to see you again.
I'm sorry for the inconvenience.
Yeah, no problem. It can be happen. It can be occur. And I think Mr. Shazli have left us, so I would like to give the floor to you, Mr. Hassan.
Okay. Thank you. I got your question. That what is the way forward for Pakistan-Afghanistan relations? And I think Mr. Zakaria has said that now the regional countries must play a very active and positive role in the development of Afghanistan. You see that Afghanistan, since the last 40 years, ever since the foreign invasion of Afghanistan started, you see that before the Soviet invasion, Afghanistan was a very vibrant economy and a very progressive state as such. And I remember our elders talking about how beautiful the roads of Kabul were, how beautiful the food, and how delicious the food, and how good the development of Kandahar was. So Afghanistan before the Soviet invasion was a very, very, very stable state. But ever since foreign invasion started in Afghanistan, things went going south. And now I think with the current developments, we in Pakistan have been watching these current political developments in Afghanistan in utter shock. How this how quickly things have unfolded, and currently a new de facto government is under formation under the Taliban, of course. From what we are seeing here in Pakistan is that they are now trying for an inclusive government. We are not sure how inclusive it will be. We can only pray and hope that all Afghan stakeholders are included in this new government. As for the relations of this new government with Pakistan will be concerned, you'll have to go back to 1996 when Taliban took control of Afghanistan. Back then, the Pakistan country to give de facto recognition to that government, and Pakistan had its reasons. The reason was that Pakistan was hosting Afghan refugees. Pakistan is the immediate neighbor, sharing some 2,600 kilometers border with Afghanistan. Two of the provinces of Pakistan, that is Balochistan and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, shares this border with Afghanistan, and Balochistan is the largest province of Pakistan. So the current with the current developments in Afghanistan, Pakistan is adopting a wait and see policy, because China has sent signals by giving statements that they want to work with the new government in Afghanistan. Russia has also sent signals. So Pakistan will probably wait this out and let China and Russia take the lead in starting the diplomatic relations with this new government. But that said, Pakistan still is as an immediate neighbor of Afghanistan, and as a country that shares so much history, culture, language, religion, religious commonalities with Afghanistan.
Mr. Durrani, I am also a Durrani. Barakzai is one branch of Durranis. So
Yes.
this is another example of how we are divided by colonials.
Exactly. Barakzai is a sub-tribe of Durrani. You're right. So, as I was saying, that Pakistan has been helping with the evacuation of foreign diplomats and foreign staff, but no as such state-to-state level diplomatic correspondence or diplomatic relations have been established as yet. As I've said, that Pakistan will wait this out. But I would to what Mr. Barakzai said, that the regional countries, because now what we are seeing is that, and in the short term, from what we expect, is that the Afghan economy will plunge into further chaos because the foreign assets of Afghanistan, which roughly estimates to $9 billion in US reserves, have been frozen by the United States government. For Afghan economy was the major chunk of Afghan economy was reliant on foreign aid. Now that foreign aid has halted, so I think it's the responsibility of the regional countries to step up and help the Afghan brothers and sisters in this time of crisis. We have seen videos, we have seen news reports coming out of people queuing up to banks, and banks have liquidated. They are not giving out cash to anybody. People are struggling, and this is the serious human catastrophe that we are witnessing just in our neighborhood. The world will, the history will, and the Afghan people will not forgive us if we, and by we I mean the whole international community, especially the regional communities, regional countries, if we don't step up and help the Afghan people who are in need. The situation at the Kabul airport, I was just talking to a friend who is a reporter in Afghanistan. I was talking to him. He said that only today 7 people have died in the Kabul airport because people are trying to flee the country as the foreign troops and foreign diplomatic staff are withdrawing. So there is a very chaotic situation at the Hamid Karzai International Airport as well. So I think these are my 2 cents on how Pakistan will take these relations forward.
Thank you for general information, Mr. Hassan. Definitely, the coming months will be very interesting in point of diplomatic relations. There will be a lot of activities will be going on in region, and the news, however, coming from Afghanistan, totally devastating and heartbreaking. We have seen as a news that thousands of people are desperately leaving the country, trying to leave country, and the situation in Kabul airport is totally devastating. How they are trying to enter the planes. And in this point, I would like to ask about migration policy of Pakistan. Sorry, because Pakistan is one of the in the region, one of the first country I think is helping the refugees to take their country and to welcome them. However, Pakistan has its own limits as well in the point of economically and welcome to refugees. So what do Pakistan expect from the neighboring countries as well in this refugee crisis, in refugee policy, as well as from the European Union countries?
Elmir, so for the information of our viewers, I would like to state that Pakistan currently is hosting some more than 4 million Afghan refugees. They include the documented plus the undocumented. So the documented refugees are around 2 million, and when you add the undocumented refugees, they stand at 4 million refugees. The stated policy of Pakistan before this new situation unfolded in Afghanistan was that Pakistan will not be in a position to host further Afghan refugees. The proposal was a Turkish model of refugee hosting. The model was that Pakistan would like to build refugee camps with the Pakistani taxpayer money and provide the facilities and take the burden of those refugee camps, but they will be built on the other side of the Duran line, on the Afghan side. But there were negotiations with the Afghan government, and Pakistan was taking stock of the situation and developing scenarios regarding that. But the situation in Kabul unfolded so quickly that everyone, including Pakistan, was caught off guard. But the silver lining in all of this situation in Kabul was that the bloodshed that the world was expecting, or the civil war that everyone was talking about, not unfolded as such. And it's very fortunate that the transition, or whatever you call it, has been smooth. So the loss of lives or the civil war that everyone expected did not happen. So the refugee influx in Pakistan was expected that it will happen as a result of the civil war, but since that did not happen, so the Pakistani government is not expecting a lot of refugees at the moment. There have been deliberations in Pakistan on how we can send immediate food supplies or help the Afghan government, but since there's no as such diplomatic relations between Afghanistan and Pakistan, because the Taliban have not yet announced their government. They have announced the so-called Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan, but they have not formed the government yet. And the latest I was seeing a statement of a Taliban leader was that they are waiting for the foreign troops and the foreign diplomats to leave the country and the situation in Kabul airport to stabilize, and then they'll announce. So we'll see, and we can hope that till that time, there is the Afghans, the ordinary Afghans, don't suffer, and the economic situation is well maintained, and people don't have to to even struggle for a piece of bread. So we are hoping that it does not come down to this. If the economic situation worsens, and then I think I'm not sure what will the plan of action by Pakistan will be, but I'm sure that the government in Pakistan has planned contingencies of how they can help the Afghans who are in need. The Pakistani government has also announced special visas for foreign journalists and Afghan journalists working inside Afghanistan who are willing to evacuate from Afghanistan. Chartered flights of PIA have been running back and forth to Kabul from Islamabad, ferrying foreign diplomats and journalists out of Afghanistan who are willing to go outside Afghanistan. So these are the current developments.
Thanks for informing about the latest developments in the region. It will be very interesting to see the coming months as well, because this migration policy is very difficult to handle. As Pakistan only with its own power can't handle this, and definitely need more help from the developed countries and activities in the region. And I would like to give the floor now to one of the GPC ambassadors, Cooperation ambassadors from Serbia, Mrs. Adriana, and to hear from her about her observations and what does she think about current ongoing situations. Floor is yours, Mr. Adriana.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to this webinar, and I'm so happy to see so many of you joining us today from different parts of the world, because in my opinion, this is a global problem, so it needs global discussions and global solution as well. So in my opinion, if we want to understand the situation that is going on nowadays, first we need to understand who are we dealing with. And religious fundamentalism actually in general means going back to basis, to roots of the religion, its truths, dogma, and so on. And it has 6 main ideas, which are, in the first place, religion, meaning that the goal is to establish God's order with the religious law. The second thing is anti-modernism, meaning rejecting pluralism, or actually they think that there be more ideas, more. There is just one truth, and this is God. And still, there we see some changes. They're using some modern techniques or tools, which are like controlling media or sophisticated techniques of communication. But still, their goals are still the traditional ones. They don't change. And what else is modern is the goal to gain political power. That as an idea, anti-secularism, which by what I mean, like secularism for Taliban means a war to God. So humans are trying to establish sovereignty that belongs to human and not to God as it should be according to them. Then we have a tradition which means believing in some interpretation of ulema, of theologists. And what else? What else do we have? Yeah, they think that religious books are worth more life. But what's problematic is their interpretation of those. They use it as a tool to legitimate their actions and to approve those. So when we speak about, there are of course different types of religious fundamentalism, but when we speak about Islamic one, it is important for us to know what is the goal. And the goal is to establish an Islamic state. And the first step it is which is Sharia, of course. And the law regulates everything. So basically, family relations, behavior, nutrition, education, everything. And history, there were two, and there were three ways. So this, what we are witnessing today, is actually the third way, or the wave of it, or maybe even the fourth wave, because we see some changes. So what is important for that third wave is it started in 90s, as we know the situation, and we have the explanation today from the professor. And there are 5 central points of this kind of fundamentalism, which is Islam is perfect and there is no need to change it. The second one is Islam is superior and the West is enemy. The third one is if we don't understand something about religious books, it's because of us, because we are limited. The fourth one is that Quran should be used as a constitution. And the fifth one was that Islam should rule everywhere. So those are some bases that we know who are actually we dealing with, because we need to know those bases so that we know how to find a solution, to see if any kind of negotiating are possible. And when it comes to it, we can see some changes comparing to 90s, and afterwards we can see some changes. They're ready to negotiate with some politicians, but as I found one quote when I was going through the articles is but where they could change, like they kept living their life in their circles, so where this change can come from. And when it comes to consequences, there will be a wide range of consequences. The first ones like in the country and outside the country. About the consequences inside the country, we heard our distinguished guests, honored guests, talking about it, and I will talk a bit about the consequences outside the country, since if I'm not wrong, I'm the only one who comes here from the other continent, from Europe. So I will speak about my region, which is Western Balkans. State Department that called for all countries to support safe and organized departure of Afghanistani refugees that want to leave the country. And that statement was signed by, as far as I know, 120 countries so far, and all Western Balkans countries except Bosnia. And Montenegro is the only country from Western Balkans that signed that statement, but they are not willing to accept refugees. So they are willing to leave them, to let them come to country and to leave the country, but not to accept the refugees. And I have some statistics here. When it comes to 170 Afghanistani people, which is 30% of total number of the refugees that we have in our country. And just to compare it, for example, in January 2021, we had 3,180 refugees coming from Afghanistan, and in July 2021 we had 5,760, which is about a double. So we see this number increasing. But the thing is, this is not just for Serbia, but for the whole Western Balkans. We are more like a transit zone for them, so they don't want to stay here. They're just transiting to Germany, Belgium, or France. In North Macedonia, they agreed to accept 450 refugees. In Montenegro, as I previously said, they signed a joint statement, but not willing to accept refugees. In Albania, they agreed to accept 250 refugees. In Croatia, 20 refugees that supported their soldiers in Afghanistan. And when it comes to Kosovo, Kosovo agreed to accept the USA request to accept the refugees from Afghanistan until they got visa to go back to not to go back, but to go to USA. So the conclusion was that Western Balkans is just like transiting countries for most of migrants. There can be some terrorist attacks here, but I think that Europe will have to deal with it more to try to include those people and to integrate them in their societies. But then we again go back to where we started. So who did it change? How did it really change their minds? That would be the actually some kind of space for us to try to negotiate and to come to some solutions. But the thing is that it's easier when you have someone just interest, if it's money or something. But when it comes to religion, that goal they have connected to religion, it doesn't change that easily. So we will see. We are waiting for the international organizations and the community to react. I think that this situation is showing a bit of weakness of the USA. So we will see if there is some space for China, which is economically growing so fastly, and of course if there will be some space for Russia to act. Thank you.
If I may, Ilmar, many thanks, Adriana, for your input for this discussion. The thing is that why you are not talking about xenophobia and Islamophobia in Europe, or far-right Hungary? Why you are not talking about helping Turkey with 4 million refugees from Syria? You are creating mess around the world and leaving it like Afghanistan. Why you are not talking about that? And all the time you are talking about Islamist extremism. You saw the pictures of Trump coup in Washington, D.C. Were they Muslims? Do you believe that this is Muslims? How about World War I, World War II, the atomic bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki? They were Muslims that were doing that? Do you believe that?
Oh, okay.
At the moment, I'm not talking about xenophobia or Hungary, because this is not the topic of this webinar, but I was not saying that all the people are the same. I'm talking about Talibani people and the situation in Afghanistan. This is why I connected it to religious fundamentalism, because the Talibani, they are a part of it. This is in that context I was talking about the religious fundamentalism. I'm not saying that every religion actually has its some radicals in it, not just Islam. But since the topic of this webinar is the present situation in Afghanistan, this why I wanted to touch upon this topic, just to know who are we dealing with, to know what are their goals, in order to find a better solution for it.
Thanks for general discussion. I think we shouldn't move away from our main topic. Of course, Taliban don't represent Islam to the world. It's a fact. They have their own bases and own rules, but they don't represent Islam into the world. Islam is a religion of peace, of course. And I would like to come to the end slowly to our webinar and to give the word to the floor to the Mr. Zakaria Barakzai about conclusion remarks. What would you like to say about situations that about the China that coming to the region, about Russia coming to the region? Floor is yours,
I will
Mr.
repeat
Zakaria.
again. I will repeat again. 40 years of suffering is enough for Afghan people. The strategic thinkers in United States, Russia, in China, in other neighboring countries should think about human suffering of their decisions. Afghan people suffered a lot because of geopolitics situation of Afghanistan in minerals. And because of that, enough is enough. We don't want any country. If they want to help, they are most welcome. But not mess up and kill Afghan kids, women, children, innocent civilians.
Thanks for information. And I would like to give the floor our ambassador from Afghanistan, Global Peace Ambassador, Mrs. Hila Hakimi. Are you with us, Hakimi? Can you hear us? Mrs. Hila? We can't hear you, unfortunately.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, it's very clear. Thanks for
Yes.
joining us. It's a great pleasure to
Thank
see
you so much.
here.
I'm just waiting that gave me the chance that talk about the topic that I already select with you, that I will talk about the 9/11 issue, as you mentioned about that
Yes.
there will be someone to talk about this issue. So first of all, I'm just waiting for you that if there is any question, so I'm available to answer
Yeah.
that.
Yes, I would like to ask you a specific question about that. The beginning of this catastrophe, that 9/11s. Everything started from 9/11 events. How America, USA, come to the Afghanistan, invading Afghanistan. What would you think about this on activities?
Thank
Floor
you
is
so
yours.
much.
Yeah.
Yes, I got your point that as we know, if we back in 2001 or 9/11, the US was responding to the 9/11 attack on New York and also Washington. So in which nearly 3,000 people were killed. Officials identified that Islamic militia group such as Al-Qaeda is responsible for this attack. So as well, the Bin Laden was in Afghanistan that time. So under the protection of the Taliban and the Islamists who had been in power since 1996. So that time, when the United States asked for the Bin Laden and asked from the Afghan Taliban to hand him over to the United States, but the Taliban that time just say no for their request. And the US, as we know, intervened militarily, quickly removing the Taliban and uh, starting a new democratic country in here. But as we know, the United States declared that whenever we come to the Afghanistan, we came for counter terrorists. We not came here for the nation building or some kind of applying democracy in here. But as we see that the NATO allies had also joined the US, and a new Afghan government took over in 2000, took over place. But as well in 2004, there was some other occupation from the United States that they just they intervened in Iraq, and they somehow they forgot about Afghanistan. And then at that time there was some other country or neighbor country that they were the opponent of US, and they used this chance for their own self, for their own national interest. And there was some people that who were hated from the United States, so they abused those groups, those people, and they want to support them and back them. And that's why there was the second Taliban emergence, a re-emergence of Taliban. And we should not forget about that whenever the United States came to Afghanistan, so that time the first mistake that they did, it was that they support some warlord Northern Alliance, and they backed them, they gave them lots of power. That's why some of those warlords, some of those groups, they abuse those power against Pashtun people, against innocent people, and they just want to take revenge. That's why they say they give some misinformation to the United States first or military first, and say bombard this part, this, and they belonging to the Taliban. But actually they were innocent people. That's why lots of people they just displaced from the country, they lost their family member, they they just start hitting from the government and as well United States. In this case, when while the United States in 2004 uh, just lost their more uh, how to say that whenever they intervene in Iraq, so that time those neighbor country uh, just say, okay, this is a good chance for us to support those people that they are headed from the United States. And they support them, they back them, uh, and they become as a Talib, and they fight against the government, they fight against the United States. So it was all it's not all about 9/11. There's lots of other tragedy as well, other story about 9/11. As we know, in the uh, 2014, at the end of what was the bloodiest year since 2001, because NATO's international forces ended their combat mission and leaving responsibility for security to the Afghan army, and also that gave the Taliban momentum, and also they seized more territory and places in Afghanistan. So, but peace talks between the US and the Taliban started uh, tentatively. I mean, with the Afghan government, uh, they said okay, and in the Hamid Karzai time, they start to talk with the Taliban. But that time, the government uh, just didn't show well-being to Taliban, and day by day, Taliban got power and start uh, action against the government as well United States, and that's why it's a really different story and a really different tragedy about the 9/11 that may everyone know about it, but I'm because of the time limitation I'm just discuss about some main idea or main issue in 9/11, that what happened in 9/11, or I mean after 9/11 in Afghanistan, and what happened to the people of 9/11 that we all suffering till now. And as you know, the more suffering people are innocent people in Afghanistan, not the leader, not the warlord, not the elites of Afghanistan. They will just use the name of unity and also uh, ethnic group just for their own interest. But uh, who's suffering from this situation? It's just we, it's just innocent people, it's just blameless people in Afghanistan that are suffering from this bad situation. So if I ask, where's our leader? Where are those elites? Where are those other groups or warlords? There's no one. There are just our Afghan people that are suffering, and they don't have other way. As the President Biden said that his administration made the right decision in the ending of U.S. military involvement in Afghanistan, and also he arguing that the U.S. U.S. counterterrorism mission is complete. Okay, so we are just worried about that. How it's complete? Our people are still suffering from those counterterrorism mission in Afghanistan. So how they say that our counterterrorism mission is complete? We just want to say that is that counterterrorism mission is complete now, or it was complete before? But meanwhile, we don't have other choice. We don't have other choice. We just stay and waiting that what will be happen. So there is different group that as well there the different neighbor country that they are support Afghanistan in different time, but not for the sake of God. They just back or support them because of their national interest by the name of Islam, by the name of democracy, in different name. So that's why I'm just not only me, but our all Afghan hope for the best and pray for the best, and we hope that no matter it's Taliban government or it's our own Islam republic government, what we want, what our people want, we just want peaceful life, not under the name of democracy you kill the people, or some other came in our country under the name of Islam they kill our people. Those people that now they say that we are came here for because of Islam and we want to deploy Islamic rule in Afghanistan. I'm just asking from those people that how they believe that Afghanistan was not in an Islamic situation before. How they are believing this word. No, we were Muslim and we are Muslim and we will be Muslim. So I'm really sorry to say that there is some Islamic state that they're talking about Islam in Afghanistan, but they didn't know about their own country. They don't know about their own country situation. They are also Islamic country, but their situation, their country situation is more worse, more dangerous, more against Islamic rule rather than our country. So how they say that the Afghanistan should be in Afghanistan should be deploy Islamic rule. I'm really sorry for those countries, and I'm really sorry for those leaders that they're talking about this.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Hila, for your sharing your thoughts, your opinion. And I assure you that your voice will be heard. We will, as Global Peace Chain, we will share all the Afghani people word to the world. And it's really heartbreaking. I don't have words to describe, to feel sorry for Afghanistan people, Afghani people. They desperately lost their hope, and there's a lack of solidarity for them.
Thank you
What
so
we
much.
can do?
And in the end, I just want to mention that I'm, as a
Yeah.
peace ambassador, I want to raise the voice of our young generation in Afghanistan. They all of them suffering from this bad situation. Why? They are educated, but they don't know about their future. They are educated, but they just want to live. They just want to spend their time in a peaceful country, in a peaceful place. They spend their time, they spend their money for to go to education, but in the end of the day, they face war, they suffer from war situation. And also, especially for women, me as an Afghan girl, I'm really in a dangerous situation. I don't know. May I get my ride in the future or not? So what will be happening to me? May I will be available to rise my Afghan young generation voice to the world in the next future or not? Or they will just stop me. It's not just me. I'm talking on behalf of my people. So we are really worried about this situation. We don't know what will be happen. What will be the next great game in Afghanistan? So we hope that we will face uh, a peaceful life in Afghanistan as soon as possible, and we all pray for that.
Mrs. Hila, we all really hope about this. And because of the time limit, we have come to our end of our webinar. I want to especially thanks to our honorable guest experts, Mr. Zakaria Barakzai and Mr. Hassan Durrani. It was a great honor for us to welcome you, to host you in our webinar. Thanks again. And what I can tell about general as conclusion remarks, in order to prevent future catastrophe in humanitarian aid, developed countries should unite and should definitely act to help and share responsibility to take refugees. We hope citizens of Afghans will be safe and harmless, and hopefully there will be sustainable peace and internal stability in future of Afghanistan with full democracy and human rights. Thanks so much again for our audience to listen us, and good luck and have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Durrani sahib, Shawraz.
Barakzai sahib, खुशहाल हो से.
खुशहाल हो सही. بیا سره ګورو د خیره.
इंशाल्लाह कब शब लगी. मेहरबानी. अस्सलाम वालेकुम.
Assalamu alaikum.